It is exactly 9:43 a.m. We will be wrapping up at 10 o'clock exactly. Our final interview for the morning is with Dr. Charles Sinkala. He is a political analyst and he is the president of the Organization of African Political Parties Forum. Great pleasure to have him on the show this morning. We're going to be talking about the ANC conference. We're also going to weigh in on the Zondo report. So I think it's going to be a very interesting discussion. Dr. Charles Sinkala, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Julie, and good morning to your listeners this morning. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure entirely. Let's start off with this quote or this sentence or this warning that was articulated by Gwede Mantashe at the conference. And he went on to say, we, obviously referring to the ANC, we will have a problem in 2024. So he was obviously giving out a very stern warning about the possible loss of Gauteng in 2024 because of all of the issues, all of the cracks, all of the infighting, the factions, etc. What do you make of that statement by Gwede Mantashe? And do you kind of agree that there is going to be a problem come 2024?
As much as the chairperson of the ANC sees a challenge in 2024, there's currently a big challenge in the ANC, like what Julie we have said,
Mm.
in terms of who belongs to where and who's supposed to be prosecuted and who is not supposed to be prosecuted, and which faction one belongs to.
I've just lost you.
These are the very
Okay,
discuss
Dr. Sinkala,
the
this line.
issues.
All right, I lost you there completely. The line seems to be
Yes,
unstable. All right, so the big issues, what you just to kind of summarize what you said is the big issue
yes,
is the
yes.
factionalism, the corruption, which obviously we're going to talk about in the Zondo report. And if they don't, do you think it's fixable? That's the important question. Is it fixable, or does the rot run way too deep?
No, look, it is fixable. It is fixable, provided that they deal with the current problems that they have. Although some decisions might be very difficult to make, decisions such as ones which we have seen that they have adopted a step aside uh, policy where those
Mm.
who are been involved in some corruption and other vices within the organization should step aside. But the question is, all the people, including the head of state, have been compromised, been pointed at fingers at. So it is very difficult for that to be resolved. Otherwise, they have to take a very serious decision, either to ignore what is happening and start working together to be supporting each other. And I think from there, they will energize to look at the future. The chairperson was right to mention about the threat of the 2024, but I think their main focus should not be at 2024, should be at the current predicament within the ANC.
Okay, so the ANC's four-day elective conference ended with Panyazi Lesufi being officially elected as the new chairperson in the province. Any surprises, and does that bode well for the province?
Yes, indeed. Not much surprises, especially from my perspective. Panyaza de Sufi has been one of the hardworking ANC officials. You see how he has moved through the education as he was make, although he was faced with a lot of challenges, but he has been consistent in terms of the leadership. Yes, his rival as well, who slimly, where he escaped, the votes less than, a certain number margin. It's not a majority win, but at least we can see that there was a competition. And I think Panyaza, he hasn't seen himself to be either to the one faction of the president or the other faction to the former president, President Zuma. But in this case, we're not talking about those two factions. Now there's new factions which has come in within the organization, and we hope that he shall find the time to unite all the people. But again, the ANC, as it is likely called, the 1912 organization, the oldest organization on the continent, contradicts itself in terms of policy and implementing things. Small things such as the tenure of the erstwhile David Makura, who was chairperson of the province. His term ends in 2024, if I'm not mistaken. But they have elected a new chair in terms of now they're going to have two centers of power, which is likely they will visit his office and tell him that they can't have two centers of power. So they will use the same strategy they used to President Thabo Mbeki to ask him to resign. This brings confusion and a lack of continuity in the organization.
And further fractures within the organization. You talk about the factions. You also mentioned the step aside ruling. Do you think that there's any chance at all that they're going to introduce the step aside rulings, maybe even with Cyril Ramaphosa, very especially regarding the issue around the undeclared $4 million from the supposed sale of cattle on his farm?
Yes, indeed, Julia. It is, for one to be a leader, you must demonstrate the cleanliness, of you performing that function as a leader. Because what you're gonna stop your subordinates or your people that you lead, anything that you point at, they will look at you if you that clean. So for him, is in a very bad predicament, especially where some of the members of the ANC, senior National Executive Committee members of the ANC, who were told to step aside, including the Secretary General, S. Magashula, and as well as many from Parliament who held committee portfolios like Bogan Mbongo, who were told to set aside for matters which are not even been concluded by the court of laws. And this creates a precedence, by people of not having seen a fair practice in terms of the organization and start digging the information. It's like a revenge where the one would feel that I
Yeah.
feel victimized, I feel vindicated. What should I dig about this person who has put me into this predicament? Hence, you've
Absolutely.
seen Arthur Fraser
Fraser.
decided to deposit a case against the president, and this shall go on. And President Cyril is in a very slim, tight corner. Is hanging on the very loose shoestring, and we hope for the best, because now this is affecting the country's
All right.
productivity and them working together.
Okay. Dr. Sinkala, let's view the situation slightly differently. If Cyril Ramaphosa is pressurized into stepping aside, who's going to step into his shoes, and what's that going to mean for the country? I mean, we are in a deep enough mess already as it is. What do you think that scenario is going to look like?
Look, Julia, I wouldn't like to point at individuals, but South Africa, including those who are in the ANC, we have enough leadership who can take up the role. So we are not short of leaders.
Are you
Should the West,
confident? Are you
uh,
confident the right person will, step into
of
his
course,
shoes? People
Julia,
like whom,
whatever,
for example?
who.
Whom, for example?
Look, according to the Constitution, Julia, of course, the Deputy President has to take up
Mm,
the role in the acting capacity until things are normalized. And now we have seen from the Zondo Commission that Parliament must choose and elect the President. So then those things shall follow. We cannot be in a country where we have situations that things are pointing direct at the president. We will lose confidence and self-esteem in the president.
Okay.
If the set is that they have set that is a step aside, well, it is him to step aside as well.
Oh,
But we hope that the ANC can find some time to close the doors and iron out their laundry,
okay.
indoors without
All
exposing.
right. Let's take a quick ad break. We'll come back and then we're going to weigh in on the Zondo report. And also, time permitting, because we have to wrap up at 10 o'clock, let's look at the issue about Zuma making noises, wanting to take Cyril Ramaphosa to court. So all of that and more coming up right after the ad break.
Don't be sheepish. Kurbani with Penny Appeal. Affordable and rewardable. For just 750 Rand in Uganda, 950 Rand in Malawi and Zimbabwe, 2,100 Rand in South Africa, and 2,000 Rand in Yemen, you can reap the rewards of your sacrifice. Go on and do your bit to banish poverty. Only the best animals, 100% reliable and guaranteed notice of your Kurbani done. Call 031 1100 573 or visit www.pennyappeal.org.za to book your Kurbani today. WhatsApp 081 4072753 for more information. Trust us to deliver your sacrifice where needed most, allowing you to reap the rewards of this blessed action. Penny Appeal. Small change, big difference.
Kids these days are smart, and when you're competing for their attention against their smartphones, you need to make smart choices, like using Sunfoil triple refined pure sunflower oil in every meal you make. It's naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether you're cooking, frying, or baking, you get the great tasting results that'll get their attention faster than the latest app. And if that doesn't work, change the Wi-Fi password. Sunfoil. Now we're cooking.
Once again, Maulana Timol will be taking a trip abroad for Kurbani. Many people in the villages live well below the poverty line and only eat meat on the days of Eid al-Adha. Support this cause at 1,820 Rand for 7 shares or 260 Rand per share. Contact Maulana Timol, Maulana Sajjad, Maulana Hamad or Maulana Abbad on 011 852 6324 or 8584 or 8538 or 072 299 9268. All slaughtering will be supervised by a team of foreign and local ulama. Visit www.operationkurbani.org.za.
Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salam Media.
9:56 exactly, and before we go to the final chapter of the 1 billion rand state capture report, which has finally reached the president, let's take a WhatsApp comment from a listener to you, our dear guest, Dr. Charles Sinkala. The comment, or the question rather, is: does Panyaza Lesufi's victory, is it a vote of confidence for Cyril Ramaphosa's re-election in December? Can you respond to that, please, Dr. Charles?
Indeed, yes. For every conference we have a victor and the one who will lose. And Panyaza Lesufi, I think, was the best candidate in terms of the conference, and they have decided whether or not it is to the advantage of President Cyril going forward. That we shall leave it to us to come and see what goes further, as there is much factions within the ANC than what we have seen.
Okay, so more than R1 billion later, and after 8 million papers of documentary evidence, as well as 75,000 pages of transcribed oral evidence, and over 800 witnesses, the final chapter to the Commission of Inquiry into State Capture, led by Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, has finally arrived. What do we make of the final chapter? And then where to from here for Justice Zondo, Cyril Ramaphosa, and the rest of South Africa?
Firstly, I would like to say a job well done to Chief Justice Raymond Zondo. He has consistently and taken up this role, although it has been delayed. That we should have had it earlier. But at the same point as well, that the way it has been conducted is not to the collective or everybody's view, as it has been cited that. It has targeted only the Zuma and the Zuma camp in its totality. I feel personally myself that the commission should have started from 1994, to review the government's operation and those office bearers who presided over the governance of South Africa. But merely targeting the last 10 years, which they called the wasted 10 years, they actually judged and sentenced Zuma's administration and those who served in that commission. Hence, it has been received negatively from all South Africans.
So, do you think there's a possibility that there might be a further or future report as well to go right back at the beginning, the beginning of our democracy, and start checking where and how the rot started?
Yes, Julia, it's always good to do that. When the country is in a crisis such as where we are at this stage, the wise men only always said that it's better to go back to the beginning where things started, and you can review, and it will give you a complete picture of where the country is going to. But merely targeting a certain section of the governance, it's something which is vindictive and victimizes others, especially those who last served in the last regime. South Africa has a new democracy. We expected nearly 30 years from 1924, the historic elections from the apartheid. That let us review how our governance has been conducted. Are we still, or are the people in the country, especially South Africans, the poor South Africans in different communities, are they living the same conditions as they were living during apartheid, or their lives has improved? Many questions of such as this, and I think the whole government and the Zondo Commission should have taken that position, to incorporate that money they have spent over 300 or billions, in terms of conducting this to be inclusive and not merely targeting certain individuals.
Okay, just very quickly, do you think this then is going to further create more divisions within the ANC and create more problems for the ANC going forward? What about other parties, the opposition parties and the smaller parties? What does it mean for them?
Yes, these, Julia, like I've mentioned, this just feathers the deep, the depths of the soil. It's
Mm.
not building; it's actually negative motivation for the country, opposition political parties, and many others, including those who are on the wrong side. As an advocate of the high courts, we have always been taught that once you make a judgment, even the one who is an offender or the suspect should understand that this judgment was fair, and next time they won't repeat any other problem. But if you create a precedence where you actually make it very difficult for even the ones who are on the wrong not to understand the wrong part of it, it turns into a revenge. Hence, you've seen former president now, Zuma, has come out in open and showing the people of South Africa, look, this is the reason why I was victimized. Other people actually have more problems than you thought I had. Hence we are seeing these now. There's also the information that former President Foundation will challenge through JSE, to challenge certain information from the Zondo Commission report. So it will be a merry-go-round, and we hope one day that you shall come to an end, and the leaders and those who are in the forefront should focus on the poor South African and on the economy of South Africa, and to set an example that indeed, yes, a 1912 political party is indeed a political party which has got experience and also give inspiration to other political parties beyond the South African borders.
Clearly, I get a sense that you're not altogether satisfied with the findings of the Zondo report. How do you believe we as South Africans then need to be forward? Uh, we have been told by lots of other analysts, political leaders, and the general public that it was a brilliant job and it was a major undertaking uh, by Justice Zondo regarding this report, publishing, going, investigating, and then publishing the report. Uh, where and how do you believe we can move forward with full acceptance of the report? What do you believe was, I know you've outlined there was, the report should have gone further back in time, but what else do you believe was the shortfall as far as the report is concerned?
Julia, I think that, immediately when other matters were brought up which had empirical evidence to prosecute, they should have taken up that step to making sure that they go in line with the commission. The commission was not a legal court of law, but to provide some certain information for the National Prosecuting Authority and the security cluster in the country to start proceeding. But, merely them waiting for the report to be concluded, as you have likely seen, yes, of course, the Guptas has been arrested, but a lot of things have changed. Time has passed. And I think and I hope that the next commissions that are installed to do such work, such as the one by the Zendo Commission, should work together with other clusters so that it can be meaningful, because now the report is concluded with all those pages. It will take time for it to be interpreted, and it will take time for them to start prosecuting others. Others will be dead, and other witnesses will be dead. It will be very difficult to bring in the court of law. So is what happened to the arms deal, where it was thrown out of the court for lack of evidence.
So you're saying this was perhaps, maybe a pointless might be too strong a word, but do you believe then perhaps it's been an expensive exercise that might not have produced the results we really wanted it to produce?
Of course, Julia. Yes, it has been exposed. Many others has been exposed, but the benefit will be very little. It will be maybe 10% of what we should have expected to realign the country because of certain factors hasn't been put into place. Remember, it's not only the report, but actually requiring to correct the wrong what has been done so that the country can learn from that, and as well as those who are found on the other side of the fence of uh, the law, they should be found behind bars. We haven't seen any of convicted individuals, who has been convicted at this stage, and that brings up a very a strong message of what was the purpose of this commission. And I think we should learn from that and let us adjust it. But we have it now. Uh,
So clearly the NPA hasn't been doing its job. Why are they sitting on their hands? Whom are they waiting to instruct them? They shouldn't be waiting for instruction from high up above. They should know what is wrong and right, and they should know who the people are to be held accountable.
Julia, they don't have the money. Shamila Batoy, she mentioned that they've got a lot of backlog of cases, even some as far as 1997. Others probably before, 1994. We saw the crimes committed against the majority during the apartheid. Those who died in police custody. Those cases are still before the court. They
Yeah,
do not have
sadly.
money.
Yeah,
Yes.
sadly, our money's been stolen by the Guptas and very corrupt politicians. If we didn't have that sort of situation, perhaps there would have been money to bring people to book. But that is all we have time for, Dr. Charles Sinkala.
Thank you so much.
It's
It has always been a pleasure to chat with you, Julia, and to share what is happening in the country. Thank you so much.
likewise. Let me return the compliment, and hopefully we will talk again in the future. Have yourself a good day, and God bless.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. It is 8 after 10 o'clock exactly. A big thank you to my producer Nasreen Naidu and the controller, that is you, Kolani. Lovely show. Thank you indeed. Till tomorrow at the same time. Take care on the roads. It is Assalamu alaikum and Khuda Hafiz from me, Julie Ali. And next, inshallah, we'll be listening to Juice 27 by Yasin Al Dosari.